The time came when 2 of 3 villages that relocated out of the deep jungle to live close to us, they wanted to receive medical help from the clinic that my wife was managing. But 2 of those villages had been at war previously. Insults were shouted, grievances were expressed, and arrows began to fly. And there was war at our door, day after day.
But Don and Carol knew this was where God wanted them. They'd arrived 6 months before as missionaries to work and live with a tribe called the Sawi. Located north of Indonesia in the jungles of what was then known as Dutch New Guinea, they were a tribe rumored to be headhunters and cannibals, a tribe that held treachery, murder and betrayal as its chief virtues.
Even when we arrived by dugout canoe and they began pounding in the drums, dancing around us, wearing war paint and holding their weapons, I sensed the peace of God, and I looked at Carol to see how she was taking this. She was smiling at the people.
Don and Carol made their home among the Sawi tribes. Don traded the steel tools he had brought with some of the men to help with their building needs. But it was the medicines they had received from the Dutch government prior to their arrival that made their presence the envy of the Sawi neighborhood.
My wife was probably saving an average of a life a day, just out of the little clinic I built for her. And so the Sawi greatly appreciated the availability of immediate medical help.
But learning to communicate with the Sawi was another problem. Starting with hand signals and moving on to word and syllable equivalents, Don and Carol slowly mastered the language enough to tell them the story of Jesus. But to a tribe specializing in treachery and betrayal, the wrong man emerged as the hero of the story.
To my shock, they began acclaiming Judas as the hero of the story, saying, "Do you really mean he kissed his victim at the moment of truth?" I said, "Yes." They said, "That makes him a master of treachery. We never thought of kissing our victims at the moment of truth. Tell us more about that man, Judas, Don." So I prayed and said, "Lord, I need help here. I need a gift of wisdom. How would he enable me to find the software to get through this cultural equivalent of a firewall?"
That was when the violence started. A young man's murder a year before Don and Carol arrived became an issue of debate among the tribes. The dispute escalated into a full-scale tribal war.
None of the violence was against us. It was one village against another village. We just happened to be in the middle of it. Men were being wounded right outside our home. Arrows would flash past the fly screen on our windows. We knew that the evil one was stirring up this violence to discourage us, make us think our mission was hopeless and the people could not possibly be changed. The power of the gospel couldn't touch them. They were too evil, too wicked, too untrustworthy. And of course, I wanted to be a peacemaker, pleading with them to make peace. So we just had to battle against the assaults of doubt and remember the call of God.
But as the fighting continued, Don and Carol started to lose hope. Then they gave the leader of the tribe an ultimatum.
I said, "Since you will not or even cannot bring this ongoing violence to an end, I think I have a solution of my own. I think I should gather our possessions and take my family, move away to another village of your tribe." Well, that suggestion shocked them. They did not want us to go. They assured me, "Perhaps you won't have to move away. Perhaps something can be done." I was to discover, by pleading with them to make peace, I was unwittingly pleading for a Sawi father to make a sacrifice I could not imagine myself as a father being willing to make.
The next morning at sunrise, Kael, the leader of the tribe, chose to make that sacrifice. A sacrifice that would cost him everything he held dear.
And I saw him extend his arms and lay his only son in the arms of an enemy father. And I heard him say to Machor, "I give my son, my only son, to you as a peace child. Tell me, do you commit yourself to serve as the advocate for peace between your people and my people, at least as long as this my peace child remains alive in your longhouse?" When I saw the father make the sacrifice, of course I said, "What is this, a father giving a son, an only son at that, to his enemies to achieve reconciliation?" This had God's fingerprints all over it. And I realized I had the privilege of finding out how to describe that, use that analogy as an eye-opener that would become a heart-opener for the people.
And so the church among the Sawi was born.
Then I began proclaiming Jesus as the greatest peace child given by the greatest Father to establish the greatest peace between God and man, between man and his fellow man.
Don and Carol spent 15 years among the Sawi tribes and even translated the New Testament into the Sawi language.
And we had taught them that you had been recipients of the gospel, but now you are to become sharers of what you have received. So they took that to heart, and they began reaching out to 4 neighboring tribes.
50 years after Don and Carol arrived in their dugout canoe, Don and his 3 sons returned to the village where they had spent so many years. Their visit was met with a true tribal celebration of how God had transformed the warring tribes into brothers in Christ.
And I remember one day after we'd been there a few years, I hugged Carol as we looked out through the fly screen on the window and said, honey, this place has the feel of the center of the will of God. So God was very real and very near, and still is.
Who are you? Doc? Are you operating on me? Who are you? Why can't I see you?
나도 사랑하